Hi. Today I wanted to talk about invisible disabilities or invisible injuries. And I know it's a strange topic, but it's one of the things that a lot of times what happens when it comes to an illness um, uh, or disease, a lot of times a person will look fine. They seem fine. For instance, in my case, I've got systemic scleroderma, and I'm a runner. I appear very healthy, but yet it affects me in many different ways. There are a lot of people out there who deal with mental illness. On the outside, they may look fine, and yet they might be dealing with depression. They could be dealing with anxiety. They can be dealing with so many different things. People dealing with grief is another big one that touches a lot of people's lives. Um, you know, uh, there are also some types of cancer. If somebody doesn't say anything, they may look fine, but they're not. A lot of autoimmune diseases, person looks fine, but they're not. Um, Mild and sometimes moderate brain injuries, person may look fine, but they're not. And part of the problem is when anybody has an invisible disability, and it could even be from trauma in their background, whatever it may be. Part of the problem is that they're struggling to do their best in any given situation. And particularly if a person had been healthy earlier, in say in the case of a brain injury or autoimmune disease, person's functioning at say this level, you know, and then they get their illness, injury, whatever it may be, suddenly they're functioning down here. But the problem is, everyone sees them as looking the same, sounding the same, and the expectations are still up here. So there's this gap that person is constantly falling short on. They're doing their best, they're trying their best, but they cannot keep up and do what people think they should be able to do. And and personally, I could say that's very frustrating for me, more so because I'm very hard on myself sometimes because I feel I should be able to do everything I did before. I've realized it's taken 8 years. I've realized I can't do everything the way I used to. I can't work two jobs. I can't, go 100 miles an hour. Um, but when you think about it, any person that you run into, any person you interact with on any given day, you don't know what that person is dealing with. A lot of times with invisible injuries and illnesses, people don't necessarily share that. If somebody's got a problem with depression, most times they're not saying, "Hey, by the way, yeah, I was thinking about suicide last week. I'm doing a little better this week." Usually, you don't hear that. Or, "Hey, yeah, I'm still struggling with grief. I lost a child, a spouse, a best friend, whatever it may be," in that they may still be struggling and not say anything about it because they don't want to. It's personal. Um, you know, and there are so many other. I mean, that's just a handful of them. Like autoimmune diseases, a lot of times people will struggle with fatigue, so the energy level's not there. They may not be able to do the same physical tasks. I know for me, I had problems going up and down stairs, and yet I can run a mile under 7 minutes. But you put me on a flight of stairs, and I look awkward. It's weird. Um, but everybody is different. But when you think about each person you interact with, sometimes you think, oh, you know, they're crabby, they're difficult, whatever it may be. You don't know what they are dealing with. And sometimes that's something just to keep in mind, be empathetic, and particularly around the holidays, because it's even harder around the holidays when people are working and struggling to deal with a lot of different things. To just be more kind, more understanding, uh, and yeah, if you know anyone who is, even somebody who's just had a concussion, A concussion is a brain injury, and actually depression um, is higher in people with mild brain injury than it is with somebody with a more severe brain injury. And the main reason for that, I believe, is because one, they're fully aware of what they could do, and they know they're functioning here instead of up there anymore. And so there's automatically that person is going to feel more depressed because they feel they are failing. Um, and and then there's so many different things. There's so many different things that people deal with, and then with pain, discomfort, and sometimes people may be struggling with things like that, substance abuse, whatever. There's so many things. Just be compassionate. Try not to judge. You never know what another person is going through. You don't. Um, and I always think if you treat everyone with kindness, you really can't go wrong. If you treat everyone as you'd like to be treated, um, you can't necessarily go wrong with that. So anyway, be aware that there are people out there that are struggling, that have invisible injuries, disabilities, challenges that they're dealing with. Just be aware, be patient. You don't know. You don't know what a person's going through unless you've walked in their shoes. And sometimes people will do their best to try to look like they're fine, and they'll say they're fine when they are not, because they don't want to inconvenience anyone. And that's a hard thing. And that's something that I know, even for me, when I first was diagnosed, I struggled with, because I did not want to uh, change how I did things. I just felt, okay, I should be able to still do all the things I used to be able to do. And I realized, no, had to do some things differently, and sometimes need help, with things. Um, and all of us do, or have to learn to do things differently. But be kind, be patient. If you know someone with an invisible injury or illness, talk to them and ask them sometimes you can talk to a person and ask them what it's like. What are they dealing with? Be compassionate, be understanding, because, a lot of times a person feels alone. And at the same time, as I share this, I know the people dealing with invisible and disabilities and injuries, there are a lot of them. I mean, you just take mental health, depression and anxiety. That's uh, 1 in 5 probably are out there. You've got a lot more people too. You start throwing autoimmune diseases in, and other issues and other health conditions, and you've got a lot of people out there that are likely struggling. So anyway, just some rambling thoughts today, but be kind, be patient, and God bless.